if it's cool, I'd love to devote a couple of minutes to talking
Yep.
about him again. So as as the world knew him as Umaga, and but the people close to him knew him as Eki, and so the many of the Samoan dynasty have lived in Pensacola, and a few still live in Pensacola, and so um, of course, knew the entire family, starting with Afa and Sika, all the way down, kids, cousins, all of them, as I grew up and as they grew up. And so, um, to when WCW kind of came to an end, and it kind of went to WWF/E, uh, in what, 90 or whatever year that was. I mean, I'm sorry, 2000 or whatever year that was. But anyway, when that happened, I did not get picked up by WWFE, whatever. I didn't get picked up, and so I got a real job, like normal human beings do, and so I got a job with a furniture company, and I don't know, before I knew it, 5 years had gone by, and I was the dad that was home every night with my kids and having dinner and helping with homework, and I'd never been that because I'd always been on the road with the wrestling business, and providing for the wife and kids, but not home every night to be a part of everyday life. And so I had been doing that for about 5 years, and with this furniture company, started as just the guy that helped lift furniture, put it on the truck, to ended up the guy that owned the furniture company literally said, "I'm going to open another store and I want you to manage it." And oh man, fantastic. I mean, I like people and talking to people, and so there I was at this furniture store working as the manager and had people under me. And all of a sudden one day, Eki walks through the door to buy his mom uh, a recliner. And so he walks in and we go, "Hey, oh my," because I hadn't seen him and I don't even know how long. And we walk around. I mean, this is a true story too. When Eki was 17 years old, he would get checked out of high school early in the day to make a wrestling show and work against me and my dad. And that's the truth. He was 17 and he was a big dude, and he could go, and he was 17 and get checked out. Can you imagine getting checked out early to then go to a wrestling show and you're wrestling Bob Armstrong? Yeah, it's like the coolest thing ever. But anyway, so I hadn't seen him in years. I mean, since he was a real young dude, and now at that time he was with he was with WWE, and he walks in the door and we see each other, and oh my gosh, and you know uh, talk for a little bit, and we talk about furniture, and then before he leaves, he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, dude, I'm wrestling kind of spits you out, and here I am." And on the day that we had this conversation, I remember it vividly. I had just turned 45 years old, 45, and he goes, "Yeah, you gotta come back to the wrestling business." And I said, "No, dude, I'm good, man. I'm home every night with my family. I've never been there, so it's cool to be a part of." And he said, "No," and I'll never forget this line, man. He said, "There's no Armstrong that should not be in the wrestling business. It's just where you should be." And I started laughing, and I said, "Hey, dude, I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you. That means as much to me as anything." And he said, "No, I'm not kidding." And he said, "All right, well, hey, great to see you." We hugged. I don't see him for about a month. And one day he walks back through the door and says, "Hey, can we talk somewhere?" And I said, "Yeah." And so took him into my office, and we start talking about, he immediately starts talking about wrestling, saying, "Hey man, wrestling business is good right now." And I said, "Yeah, man, I watch it. He goes, "Do you miss it?" I said, "Oh, of course I do, man. It was part of my life from 22 years old to 40." And I said, "Yeah, I do miss it." And he goes, "Okay, good." And he handed me a card and said, uh, "Call. They want to bring you in and use you. And I said, oh, I remember begging off and saying, no, Eki, you don't understand, man. I'm a homebody now. I'm home every night. And he goes, at least give him a call. He said, do it, man. Come on, do it for me. And I realized that dude had gone above and beyond. He actually went back to work and went to somebody and talked about me to them to try to get me a job. And that's a true friend. You know what I mean? That's a real friend. And so I thought I owe it to him. You know, I of course came home that night and talked to my wife about it, and then and you know, we both said it is worth a phone call. And so I made the call and ended up getting hired. And fast forward, that was in 2006 is when they hired me. And so fast forward to here we are about to be in 2023. And, you know, without that, all those years in and out of WWE, I wouldn't have this podcast. You know what I mean? No, I don't think anybody would really care about a old dude selling furniture. You know what I mean? And so, and believe me, the stories wouldn't be anywhere near as good. And so, I owe, and my wife and kids, my kids are adults, you know, 30 and 28, and they understand too that Eki is the reason for our season. I mean, without him, I could not have done what I did in WWE. I mean, he is solely responsible for it, is the way I feel. And when Solo, you know, he's the baby brother, right? Uso's baby brother. And when he came into, and I'd seen him from when he was just a little boy. You know, the Usos would fly. They lived in Pensacola at the time. And they'd fly in and out of here on the same flights all the time. And I'd see him jump out of the back seat of the car as a little kid, you know, helping them get their bags in the car and all. And he grew up to be a man's man. And so I remember him getting hired. I was at NXT and he got hired at NXT. And I remember he and I sitting down and me telling him this story, and he never knew it. And man, it was just, it's so cool to see that, because that family is a loving family, man. They're family. I mean, they are tight. And to know that I have a little bit of a heartstring with those dudes means everything to me, man.